Hello everyone, my name is Daphne. Today is April 9th, 2022, and I'm here at Coconut Heritage with Saabir. Hello Saabir.
Hi.
Hi. So Saabir, could you tell us your full name please?
My name is Saabir Azimali Daya. Actually, from the questions, I'm born in July and I'm 24.
Hey. Nice to meet you, Saabir.
Same here.
Could you spell your name for us?
Saabir. And then Azimali, that's my middle name, and then Daya.
Thank you. Could you tell us your place of birth?
I was born in New Westminster, actually, at the Royal Columbian Hospital.
And what do you know about your family surname?
The Daya surname is an Indian hereditary surname, and it comes from the Gujarati province. My family has actually migrated to Kenya for a few generations before migrating to Canada. So the surnames had quite of a history moving through different countries.
Okay. And do you have any interesting stories about your family or like more distant relatives that you would like to share?
Well, just kind of in summary, being immigrant, my family being immigrants to Canada, it's kind of no stranger for our family. My great-great-grandparents immigrated from India to Kenya, and actually they stayed there for a few generations. So, at this point, telling people I'm from Kenya gets a bit rattling sometimes because they get a little confused. But, so technically I would be Indian, Kenyan, and then Canadian as well.
Thank you for sharing that. So do you still live in New Westminster?
Right now I'm living in actually North Surrey.
So Saabir, could you describe your childhood home to us?
So I had two childhood homes. One was in Port Moody, and we stayed there for quite a little bit. It was surrounded by forests. We actually used to get, bear sightings quite often there. This was before the major construction and development. And then actually I lived in North Surrey for quite a while, and our home, actually I live in the basement suite there right now, and it's been a place close to my heart because not only did I grow up there, going out there, I had my friends come over there for so many years. After actually leaving and getting married, it was actually a good place for us to settle again. So it's, a place I hold, close to my heart, and at the end of the day, I find that it's very central. Being in close to this area, my house would actually be around less than 10 minutes away. So just across the bridge, but this area is a beautiful area to live in, actually.
Thank you. And were there any special items in your home that you remember? It could be a piece of furniture, or like a painting, or like a family portrait, or stuff like that.
Yes, actually, it is a piece of furniture. There is a rocking chair in my house. My parents, when they immigrated to Canada, they had just purchased it. It's still there. I will say it's a little ugly, but it's close to my heart, so I keep it in my living room, and I can't see it going anywhere soon. It's something. I don't even think the rocking aspect of it really works anymore, but I want to keep it there as long as I can.
Do you know how old is the chair?
At this point, it must be at least 30 years old.
Wow. As you were growing up, did you have any family chores?
Yes, actually, I grew up. My specific chore after meals was to dry the dishes and put them away. So that I did for, 15 years. And even when I come to the parents' house for meals, I'll still get up and actually do the same thing because, it's a bit of habit. But even actually, I still remember, of course, wiping down windows with Windex or, helping, wipe down the sofas and things like that. Whatever the mom asked us to do, we were up for it.
So who cooks the meal in your household?
At this point, our family actually all lives in a similar house. There's few basement suites, so my brother and my sister-in-law live in one, and then my wife and I live in the other, and my parents in the main house, so we actually all kind of collectively participate in preparing for meals. I will say, I'm not going to take any credit. My wife, my sister-in-law, and my mom are the head of, the kitchen. They make sure things get done properly. I try to bring ingredients and do what I can, but my help isn't really wanted so much often.
Well, we appreciate your honesty, and I'm sure they do too. So, when you were a kid, what was school like for you? What were your best and worst subjects?
School, actually, elementary and high school, I did find it's not to be a little arrogant about it, but I found it quite easy for me. I had a quite an easy time getting through, those courses. Of course, college was a big shock, the intensity went up a lot. But, going through elementary school, even high school, math and English, I loved performing at them because it was a lot of logic and the way you can think creatively for English that made me successful at it. But when it came to, science and social studies, I had to memorize a lot of facts. And because I couldn't really wing the exams anymore or tests, it was a little bit of an annoyance to me, but, I kind of made my way through it and, passed.
And which elementary school and high school did you attend?
So I went to two different elementary schools. First, I went to College Park Elementary out in Port Moody. And then for my other elementary school was actually a private school out in North Surrey, Ikra. It was an Islamic school actually. And then for high school, I went to a school out in Cloverdale, another private school called Relevant High.
And I guess you already sort of answered your question, but what was your religion growing up?
So yeah, I am a member of the Islamic faith, so I am a Muslim even till now. Yes, so I would actually go to the mosque, and even right now, actually at certain times, so this month, Muslims kind of all over the world are fasting, and so during that time they don't eat or drink during the day, but at night they eat or drink whatever they need. And so during this month, people attend the mosque quite more often. And on top of that, on Friday afternoons we have our weekly prayer. So similar to how Christians would go to, it's more regular to go to church on a Sunday. We would go to the mosque on a Friday.
And which mosque you attend?
So that I split up actually. I try to find my way to as many different ones as I can. In fact, recently I was praying at the mosque in Burnaby on Canada Way. Prayed, they actually host prayers at SFU Burnaby as well. There's one actually by my house, very small center, but it's nice because it's close to home and a lot of local people from the area attend. And then actually the other major one would be in the Tri-Cities itself, Daya, and I actually grew up going to that mosque as well.
Thank you. Did you attend SFU as your college?
No, actually, I went to Kwantlen Polytechnic instead. I have a lot of friends who went to SFU, and because I'm involved with some of the Muslim organizations outside, so I've worked with them for a lot of extracurricular activities. And I have a friend who's, he just graduated from there, but the prayers are open to all, so we just attend the prayers just for the sake of it.
And how were holidays celebrated in your family? Did your family have any special traditions?
Of course, birthdays are, always there. Christmas was a time where we didn't really properly celebrate Christmas as others would. We would go appreciate the lights, go to events and things like that. But religiously, we do have Eid holidays. One will actually be coming up in a few weeks, and one will be in the summer. And these holidays, everyone gets together, exchanges gifts, and a big part about Eid is a lot of eating, actually. People have what they call open houses sometimes, and it's literally an open door. You can come into their house. Everyone's mostly allowed in, and they'll have a massive buffet. So yeah, in fact, in one day, I think even one time we did around 15 houses, where we'd go house to house to house, and you just enjoy eating. So after a month of not eating at all in the day, it's kind of a nice treat.
And do you remember a favorite present you received as a child from one of these holidays or a birthday?
Actually, yes. My most significant present, I would say, was a Nintendo Wii. I think that was my largest present I'd gotten. And, growing up, it was financially we had to, still struggle a little bit. So when I had actually gotten this Nintendo Wii, I was extremely excited. My parents were very strict about video games and things like that, so I was overjoyed to actually get something electronic. I love tech and I loved, working on digital things. Now they've changed a lot and now they appreciate these things. But yeah, the Nintendo Wii really changed my days.
And how old were you when you received that gift?
I must have been around like 9 or 10. So quite young.
So could you describe your business to us, its name, location, and what kind of service you provide?
So Door Treats is a virtual convenience store. We operate on an e-commerce platform as well as through meal delivery platforms as well. So you'll find it on Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, Uber Eats. But then at the same time, we do service all of Canada through our website as well. So as a virtual convenience store, we deal with basically we warehouse all our goods and then we have them shipped out as needed.
And could you tell us when did you first start your business?
We actually started planning our business just at the beginning of 2021. And then by the end of 2021, we had everything ready to go, our systems put in place, and we launched at the beginning of 2022 officially.
And have you worked in this line of business before?
I've worked in distribution and warehousing before, but to be in kind of the consumer convenience side of things was a little new. But we've also been selling e-commerce platforms for consumer goods for quite a few years now.
So what made you decide to go into e-commerce?
Well, because of the way things have been changing in the world, and of course myself, I've been working with Shopify as an e-commerce platform for the past 7, 8 years. But seeing as things are being sped up with COVID coming in to play, the digitization sped up a lot. And so now we wanted to make, more consumer goods available in an e-commerce platform. Personally, I've actually been using Amazon since it was only a bookstore. So, I've kind of seen e-commerce change so much, and in today's age now, everyone's, shopping online almost.
So since you've been running your business, what are some challenges that you have faced while operating your business, and how have you been dealing with these challenges?
So, because we're a virtual convenience store, you lose that interaction with the customer where you're able to build so much more of a relationship. And often, especially if you're in the local area, you're able to, really connect with whoever you continuously see. So every week you'll go stop in to grab a soda or a candy, and you'll, interact with the same people. For us, we had to kind of use social platform and more digital media to really connect with our consumers, to make them really connect with our business more.
So how have you been using digital media to connect with your consumers?
So not only did we actually host events before in preparation for the platform, we started hosting virtual events to get to know the people who would be associating with the brand. And on top of that, spreading media that, from the events about the brand. So we would sponsor car meets, for example. And the people who would come to the car meets, they'd buy some snacks, they'd, shop at our, virtual convenience store at these car events. But then later on, as they're watching their Facebook, they see a photo of them, eating a bag of chips shows up. It makes that connection for all these consumers that they're not just dealing with a virtual store. That virtual store may be virtual and digital, but there's real people behind it.
And what are some of the events that you have been hosting?
So majority actually, as soon as summer comes around, we host annual car meets, pretty much once a month from June to September. And these car meets would bring in around 300 to 500 cars. It's actually just in this area as well, around our warehouse. And then there would be food trucks, live music, people would be coming out. And it's not I wouldn't say it's specific to car enthusiasts. In fact, it's much more for a casual crowd. So there will be very, enthusiastic people bringing their, modified, Toyota Supra or a Lamborghini SUV. But even the regular, and myself, I'm not much of a car person, but I enjoy the events. There's live music, there's good food, and you get to really communicate and be a part of the community around there.
Okay. And excuse me, because I'm not very familiar with what kind of event is car meet. So do you organize the event yourself, or do you sponsor the event?
So we work with a partner organization, the Junction, and through Door Treats and the Junction, the Door Treats would actually be the main sponsor for the food and things like that. But Junction actually would perform the management of the event. And in this event, you'd have, a few hundred cars come up, they'd park in certain areas, sort of like showcases. So people would come to showcase their vehicles, and then the event would be centered around, of course, food, snacks, a little bit of music, and then that's where Door Treats come in play, and Door Treats would, supply all the goods needed for the event. So you'll, see people coming around with a limited edition Coca-Cola can or a special hard bite chips, which, we specialize in. So the events wouldn't just have your regular, Coke and Pepsi. Everything that they offered at the event would be kind of a limited edition or a special version of it, because it's easy to find regular sodas and chips, but when you want to have something a bit more quality, that's where Door Treats comes in.
Sounds very interesting. Are there any events you plan to host in the future?
Yes, actually, the next car meet will be in June, and on top of that, we host investors brunches. So basically, in the past few years, there's been a huge boom in investor trading. So basically, between cryptocurrencies and NFTs and stocks and things like that, there's been actually a large community in the local areas that kind of come together. Of course, Door Treats is there to sponsor all the snacks and goods for the event. We'll come together, chat, have a little bit of a brunch, and it's a good place for people to get together. So those are events that are coming up, as well as, of course, the car meet that I described earlier.
Thank you. And we understand that Door Treats doesn't have a physical retail store, but your headquarters is in Coquitlam. So what made you decide to choose your location in Coquitlam?
So because we worked with our partner for quite a while, the Junction, they already, facilitated the warehouse, so we actually share a facility with the Junction as well. So then it's kind of a give and take. We sponsor the Junction's events. The Junction gives us space and events to even perform at. And so that's where, you kind of have a synergy between the organizations.
Okay. So what do you enjoy about running an e-commerce business without a physical store? And what are some things you dislike about running a business like this?
Well, to start, I actually love e-commerce, and I'm a digital marketer by profession. I went to school for marketing, and over the last, 15 years, I've seen the world, change so much into the more digital form that it is now. You're kind of expected to be, able to access the internet at most times in your life, whereas, when I was younger, actually, I still remember dial-up internet, where you would connect to the internet, you'd hear a few beeps, and then finally get through. It wasn't realistic to be actually operating, off the internet back then, but with the way things are now, and especially with the pandemic accelerating all of it, for people who want to, stay at home, now a lot of work is at home. There's not as much reason to actually go out and even grocery shop. With, platforms like Instacart as well, your groceries are coming to your door. Superstore will offer PC Express. Everyone's kind of moving ahead and kind of speeding up the process of, let's say, virtual shops. Eventually, maybe we'll even be able to put on a headset and be in a shop or a mall from that.
Thank you. And do you have any special memories with the business that you would like to share?
Yes, actually, one of the main memories actually that'll stand out is when we got our first shipment of hard bite chips. It's one of the main brands we stock, and we have almost every flavor. So hard bite is actually a local supplier. They grow, manufacture, package everything in the lower mainland, but let's say British Columbia to be a bit more vague. And working with them has been, it's exciting because we get to actually support a local partner. And so when we got our first pallet, our shipment, the staff were actually offloading it. They did not actually know what the boxes contain. But when we spread out and organized all these different flavors and bags and sizes of chips just on the table, everyone was so excited. They were arguing about which flavor they wanted to try. So there was wasabi ranch or spicy ketchup, and these unique flavors really stood out. So the team was extremely excited, and just to see a bunch of adults, so excited over bags of chips was, something I won't forget because, a bag of chips or some snacks and treats, it's not just for, kids or, teenagers or everyone appreciates this kind of consumer good.
Could you describe your team a bit more in detail to us? What are they like, and how did you find these people?
So it's been a mix of actually personal connections as well as hiring through hiring platforms as expected. But actually the business itself was originally a family business, and we started with running the Junction previously. So we have a warehouse team of around 6-7 people. These are a lot of people. We've grown over the years. In fact, a lot of people get referred to working at our warehouse. And then you have the sales and marketing team, which is around 3 to 4 people. And from each team, actually, most of the team members are, I would say most people are under 30. And it kind of makes a very exciting environment. There's always something going on. In fact, a lot of them will either work out at our studio in the back of the warehouse because, when COVID came in, a lot of the gyms shut down. So you have a lot of young guys there working out, or, they'll sit around and play video games. There's actually a few people who produce music as well. So it's a very diverse, very creative network of people who actually work there. And it's like a little community in itself.
Sounds like a fun place to work.
It is.
Sorry if you have explained this already, but what is Junction?
So Junction is more of an event company. They work on marketing and branding. So Junction, you could say, is the marketing arm of Door Treats. So they deal with the administration, the management, more the warehousing, whereas Door Treats would be the brand and business itself.
Okay. And are the two in collaboration with each other, or are they the same business?
They're partner organizations.
Thank you. And could you describe your customer demographic to us, like their age, gender, ethnicity, if you know?
So actually, to kind of summarize the demographic, a lot of people would expect with snacks and convenience it would be a bit younger. But in fact, we've found that's not true. A lot of our customers are more working professionals. So often somebody will have, a late day at the office, or they're just kind of need some snacks for lunch, or they just want to have a chat with somebody else. So a lot of our consumers are, around the age 30 to 40 years old. They're working in the area, and where our warehouse is, there's quite a few businesses already there. So as I said, a lot of working professionals, let's say males, around 30 to 40 years old. And then on top of that, actually, through the e-commerce side, we get a lot of customers, let's say more families out in smaller towns. And these are families who can't really access, specific brands, more imported goods. So they kind of go through us to have it shipped to them because their local, smaller grocery store won't really offer the same selection we have.
And do you deliver all over British Columbia?
Yes, actually, we deliver all over Canada, but everything in the lower mainland is within 1 to 2 hours. Actually, anything within Coquitlam will be there in 20 minutes. When you spread out towards, the rest of the lower mainland, you're looking at around an hour. And when it comes to British Columbia, we'll have it there same day.
It sounds very convenient.
Yeah.
So you already talked about how Door Treats connect with your customers through hosting events, but virtually, how do you connect with your customers, and do you have any interesting stories about that you would share?
Yes, actually, there's a customer who actually reached out to us through our Instagram channel, and basically we had sent him an order, and at that point we had actually found out the inventory for one of the items wasn't there, so we had to call him, let him know we had to swap him out for another flavor. So we did this. Not only did we swap him out, we added some extra goodies for him, to make up for it, because for us we felt like we didn't really fulfill, what he had asked for. So he got his stuff, and we'd actually hadn't heard from him in, a day or two. So suddenly we see a message come up, and he had actually reached out to us to really thank us for going out of the way, not just, giving him a solution, but going above and beyond for that solution as well. So he really appreciated it. He had a long day at work, and he was, going to be working a bit later. So having the right snacks and things he needed was super important to him.
That's so good to hear. A lot of e-commerce businesses does that.
Yeah, I feel like, people, they assume that people aren't willing to compromise or people are a bit stubborn, but in reality, as long as you communicate, it's very easy to actually work with most people. And good customer service is on communication.
Thank you. And have you had any unpleasant experience with any of your customers? And in those situations, how did you deal with that?
There was, I wouldn't call it an unpleasant situation. In fact, I'd call it unpleasant on our end where we weren't able to actually communicate with the customer. So the customer made an order on, I believe it was Uber Eats or another meal delivery platform. And because it was through a third party, we couldn't actually communicate with them when we weren't able to provide the flavor they requested. So we had swapped out the flavor, we actually substituted and added some additional goods, but we couldn't really get a hold of them. We couldn't actually call them. There was no answer. And so from our end, we felt that even though we compensated them fairly for it, or more than fairly, we weren't able to really fulfill what they wanted. So on our end, it was a little unpleasant in that sense.
Thank you. And we know that Dorotry's is a rather young business, but you said you started the business in 2021. And what are some major changes that have happened to your local community in Coquitlam? And is there something that hasn't changed?
Well, actually, in the last few years, Door Treats has been kind of something we've been growing, growing ideas, doing research, figuring out what brands we wanted to work with. It was 2021 that the marketing became more tangible and the brand came to life. But because of even, the pandemic and the way restrictions went up and down, it really made it tough for us to, originally we wanted to use events to market the brand itself to make sure it was the main sponsor. And many times we weren't able to host events. We had to delay events, cancel events entirely. And so that really changed things. And even moving to virtual methods of, connecting people to the brand because of the pandemic was a huge change. So the way Coquitlam has been shifting has kind of made us really adapt to whatever is coming at us. And then, of course, now we have some construction on the streets, so the drivers have a few more minutes where they're trying to get through. But it is what it is, and of course we appreciate that the city, takes care of, its area. But the changes that are coming and have been coming, it just gives us opportunities to adapt and grow.
So, what are some of your favorite merchandise in your shop? So I guess in your case, what are some favorite snacks you have?
Actually, my personal favorite is cherry vanilla flavored Coca-Cola. I have a strong affiliation for Coca-Cola. I love drinking soda, but specifically I love the extreme fizziness and of course the caffeine and sugar that comes with it. And of course when it's flavored, I mean, it's even better to me. So that's been my favorite. Actually, as a kid, my mother wouldn't really let me have much Coca-Cola. I used to get lectures how it's bad, but as an adult, I wish I could have it more, but I can really feel that it's not very healthy.
And what do you think is the most popular merchandise in your shop?
Definitely would be the hard bite chips. One thing about our selection is we carry most of the flavor. Actually, I believe all the flavors hard bite has to offer because they're of course local. I do love supporting them. Chips are actually one of the most commonly bought convenience items, especially because it's going to feed more than one person. So when you're looking at an environment where our area has a lot of businesses, a lot of them will actually just buy even 5 bags of chips and have all the stuff, now we have chips for our meeting. So the hard bite chips have definitely been a very successful brand for us.
And is there an item in your shop that you think is underrated, that deserves more love?
Yes, actually, I would say the carbonated water bubbly brand. It often gets overlooked and people prefer or are used to very sugary drinks. But personally, I enjoy the bubbly drinks myself. They have flavored carbonated water, so you can get strawberry watermelon, lime, grapefruit. There's a wide assortment of flavors, and it's quite. I wouldn't know if I can say healthy, but it's much, much healthier than a can of Coca-Cola, that's for sure. But of course, there's no sugar in it, so it definitely appeals to a different market.
And you can mix drinks with them, right?
Exactly.
Okay, moving towards the pandemic questions. Um, how would you say did the COVID-19 pandemic impact your business, and how did it affect your income?
So I did touch on it a little bit earlier before. So one of our marketing strategies was events and to make sure that we were the main host for the food or the snacks at least at the event. Now because of the pandemic and restrictions that came with it, that got limited by a lot as well. Of course you can expect with, events not being allowed to happen or being very small. To actually counteract that, in fact, it was funny enough that the income didn't really go down. Actually, it might have even increased because the more people stuck at home meant more people who didn't want to even go to the gas station and get a few snacks. They would just order from the virtual convenience store and have it delivered to them. And because of the way we were able to get it to them so quick, it was even often much quicker than even going to the store than to just have it ordered.
In all the interviews we did so far, we did hear that those businesses that stayed open actually had an increase in their income or didn't lose their income because of like so many people have closed their business. So those who are stayed open actually benefited from the pandemic. Would you say that applies to you?
Yes, I would wholly agree with that, especially as you said, there was less supply out in the market. So, I mean, if you were still open, it was, you have less competition. At the end of the day, people weren't going to stop buying. People needed what they needed. And especially when you're looking at consumer goods and food and, snacks and things like that, there's no reason that people wouldn't purchase these things. I mean, even office, most of our office employees would work from home or they would come in. It was a bit more flexible, and then we had to follow all the testing laws, and if somebody was sick they would stay home. But even with all that, I think that it was worth staying open, and it really made a difference for the staff. And for people to kind of just be stuck at home for 2 weeks doing nothing, it's not a very pleasant experience. So I'm glad we were able to actually have our team still come together.
Did the pandemic make the shipment more difficult, or like cause any troubles in or delays in the shipments?
There were a few times where, at the depot centers, because of the huge volume they were experiencing, things may have slowed down on the courier side, but most of it was okay. In fact, actually, the biggest change actually was the construction on our street, because now people had a few more minutes just to get to our block. So that was a little bit of a hassle, but not enough that it made a significant change.
What is your location?
We're actually just across Lougheed. Let's see. I would say we're a block away from IKEA on the other side. So, in fact, that area is more warehouses, industry buildings. There's quite a few furniture warehouses actually there as well. So it's with even how it is, because even our demographic was a lot of people working in the offices and the buildings there, it didn't really make enough change. Actually, to kind of specify a little more, it was right down from Fabricana, or the Fabricland.
Mm-hmm. So, how well do you know your neighboring, whether it's businesses or offices? Do they come into your office, or I guess do they shop at Dortrees, and do you patron their businesses?
Yes, actually, a lot of them have even dropped by for kind of just to see what's going on there, and they've ended up becoming customers. For us, we've actually, when the Junction even moved in, the partner organization, our neighbors, Troico, basically the warehouse beside us, they were the ones who did our development and construction to set up our offices and warehouse. So just starting off, we were already working with our neighbors, and then over the time we've even had, somebody, a local pasta sauce maker come in. He just happened to be in the area, saw that we were close, and assumed we would know about dealing with artificial flavors, which we did. So we were able to help them out. He gave us a few bottles of pasta sauce to make up for it, and over the time, a lot of our neighbors and are our main consumers actually.
Could you describe your community in one word?
I'd say it's a community of businesses.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And going back to the pandemic questions, did the pandemic impact you or your family personally?
Yes, actually, last year in 2021, I was meant to get married on March 20th, 2021. I had everything booked. We had a place in Hope. It was going to be a mini destination wedding, and restrictions came down that events were completely banned for the Fraser Valley. So, of course, that changed a lot. I ended up actually having a small ceremony at our local mosque, just in Burnaby, and then on top of that, we had a drive-through outside the warehouse. So we had a little setup and everything. So it really changed it. And actually, just a few weeks ago, we finally had our reception. Delayed over a year, but we still wanted to have the reception itself. So things were really kind of affected by the pandemic in my personal life, and it was I can't actually say that I regret doing the things the way I did. But it definitely made things different. It wasn't the wedding or the reception I thought I was gonna have, but it was still a great one nonetheless.
That's good to hear, and thank you for sharing that with us. And were there any other major historical events like the pandemic that have impacted your business in a significant way?
Actually, I'd say positively over the last, let's say, 4 years, meal delivery platforms didn't really exist before. So when you look at something like Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes, this only came in play, around, maybe let's say 5 years ago. So maybe it's not so much of a historical event, but the change in, economy where now you have all these sharing economies like, Uber Eats and Skip and things like that really made our business possible in a different way that we thought it would be.
Thank you. And so now we have arrived at our closing remark. So do you have any advice to give to the young generation of people in Coquitlam, and any special messages to the young generation of entrepreneurs like yourself?
Well, I would say that growing up in this part of the world, especially in Canada, we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of advantages in where we are able to work hard. Over in a lot of developing countries, your hard work, in a way, the results are limited. It's very tough to actually stand out. Whereas where we are, we're growing up in a place that you can kind of almost do anything your heart desires. As long as you work hard at it, you will almost guaranteed success at that point. And so the place we live in, it's really important to appreciate where we are and the communities we have, and take advantage of the opportunities that our communities give us. And of course, not taking it for granted and really working hard to earn our place in our community.
So that's the end of our interview. Thank you so much, Saabir, for coming here today. And we look forward to get more things at your business.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm looking forward. And I think we have the photography at the business coming up soon as well. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to come here, and actually I love the building itself. It's a really interesting place to be in.
Okay, so thank you so much, and bye-bye.